Hello and welcome back to this series on mental health in teens and young people, really people in general. In this video, we're going to be talking about how to treat the mental health in teens and young adults. So stay tuned for that. We've been seeing a steady rise in the mental health challenges that teenagers face, and anxiety, depression being the biggest one. So we want to talk about why that's happening. Then two, the typical treatment is psychotherapy, medication, combination of those things. So we're going to look at that whole kind of package, that between psychotherapy and the biochemical nature of this. We want to talk about preventative and how mindset plays into that. And then how would we convince our teenagers to participate in any sort of mindset related training? And then when should you really be seeking professional help? All of that, that's what we're going to be covering next. Why? That's a big question. We don't have all the answers, but there's an increasing body of research that's showing some significant contributing factors to this increase. One, the pandemic, absolutely, the data is pretty clear, accelerated this whole process, but it started actually well before that. Social media and smartphones, screen time has seemingly accelerated this as well. So when we begin to look at the loss of childhood play structure that kind of began really in the late 1990s, early 2000s, then social media's growth and the smartphone growth, the pandemic, all these factors are beginning to contribute to the whole thinking process and how teens react with each other, interact with each other, and that seemingly is increasing the levels of anxiety and depression and the negative reaction to what stresses really have always been there. There have been for a long time academic pressures, been for a long time this pressure to try to fit in and belong. Those stressors that go around in teens and young adults have been there for a long time. It's our reaction, or the teenager's reaction to those stressors, that seems to be changing. And we'll be talking in just a few minutes about why that may be. Teenagers' mental health is showing real signs of this becoming an epidemic. What do we do about it? How does therapy, how does intervention, how does that all work? Well, biochemically, there's things going on. And we know our thinking creates chemicals in our body, right? The experiences that are coming in trigger responses inside our body that trigger chemicals that then accelerate things like our response to stress and emotional regulation and all these kind of things. We've talked about those in some other videos. Well, medication clearly can help regulate that biochemistry. There's mountains of evidence that show there's certain medication that can help deal with anxiety and depression. Work of Dr. Sean Talbot, though, is also showing that changes in nutrition and our what is now being called the gut biome, or the second mind, and how that influences our reaction to stress and our moods and all of that. So nutrition, which really shouldn't be that surprising, can also greatly impact our emotional regulation on a biochemical level. Therapy like cognitive behavioral therapy and other therapies can help students begin to change their thinking patterns. That's really what those therapies are about, is trying to interrupt negative patterns of thinking that can just exasperate the biochemical aspect. Because again, what we think we are, right? Some of those old adages are very true. They definitely impact the biochemical makeup that's going on inside. So therapy can also help us influence the biochemistry by changing how we think. Your mindset really is going to be foundational behind how you react to things. It, by very definition, are those beliefs that are operating unconsciously. They're going to impact how you react to situations outside of you, right? So, depending on those set of beliefs and the whole kind of thinking patterns, the strategies that are operating there, which are all kind of the component of what we consider in your mindset, will greatly impact how you react to stress, how you react to things that could really begin to make you feel sad or hopeless or really anxious. So, if we begin by helping young people get control of their belief systems, understand what they do believe, why they believe it, how they believe it, yes, how they believe something, process oriented, very important. When we begin to show them how to take control of that, that can greatly impact their thinking. Same with their strategies, how they make decisions, how they interpret information. Then give them tools to work on those on a regular basis. Tools such as breathing practices and mindfulness, meditation, or prayer, any of those sort of practices. Something called anchoring, learning to fill your mind with good stuff. All these things are trainable, teachable, and need to be part of an ongoing education system for teenagers, and sadly, it is not. If we want to convince teenagers who can be reluctant to maybe go along with us, as adults kind of tell them what's good for them, teenagers, partly by the nature of what it means to be a teenager, can oftentimes put resistance up in that. The key to it is, for one, it to kind of begin to be their idea. You've got to subtly connect what you want them to do with their highest values, the things that are most important to them. And when you can begin to make that connection and help them see that connection between the things that are most important to them and the mindset training or whatever else it may be, whether it's even getting therapy or um, changing their diet, those things. Once they begin to see the connection to what they really value, then they'll begin make that decision themselves, right? They'll begin to see that connection, think this. So if we're talking about a preventative thing with mindset training, choice, and that sort of motivation for what's good for them internally that they make themselves is really the most important thing. As much as I would like to say a mindset training curriculum should be mandatory, when it is, those who go through it may not get out of it what they need because it's being forced upon them versus being their own decision. Question that many of you may have, I've talked about this in another video too, is when to seek professional help. And it's really kind of the length or depth of the problem. American Psychological Association talks about 2-week period of time as being kind of a window where if you're seeing mood changes or persistent feelings of sadness and hopelessness going out more than 2 weeks, that's a real red flag. You might want to be seeking help. Or the depth of it, and by that we're talking about you're beginning to see it really interfere with daily living, such as deterioration in grades, fractioning relationships, poor performance, maybe athletically or in extracurricular kind of activities. Those are red flags. Of course, things like self-harm, cutting, picking, regularly scratching, just repetitive things, picking at their eyebrow, playing with your hair, just things, little behaviors like that are a definite warning sign as well. The programs that we ran over the years, it was typically the school beginning to recommend to the parents for a change. And it was really about these things. The depth of the problem, they were seeing more dramatic and serious issues with the child's behavior or persistence, right? It's been going on for several weeks now. So something's definitely up. And within what we do too, there's usually some sort of social work service and other things provided as well. But those are definitely the red flags. It's the intensity or the length of time that you're observing these situations. We've come to the end of yet another video. And as always, consider subscribing to my channel. Check out other videos. I also want to encourage you to register for one of our free webinars, and the link to that will be in the description of this video. But it is emotional hygiene. And in that, we go a little bit more in depth in ways that we can teach young people how to take care of their emotions the same way we take care of cuts and scrapes and bumps and bruises when we get those. So it's emotional hygiene. Register for that today, and hopefully I'll see you in the next video.